All right, everybody. This is going to be an intro video for 206 through 208. Actually, 206. It's 206 to 209. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead. If you turn to page 206, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you, and we'll get started.
I didn't started yet.
All right. Here's the screen. Okay. So let's look at page 206, beginning at the top. It says, a pronoun is a word that takes the place of a noun. It can be used in a sentence in place of a noun where a noun would be used. It can be a subject, predicate, nominative, direct object, indirect object, object of preposition, or positive. Okay. Alex Dunbar is our bus driver. He knows every rider by name. So he is the pronoun, and it's referring to Alex Dunbar. So he is the pronoun, and as we'll see in the next point, the Alex Dunbar is the antecedent. An antecedent is a word for which a pronoun stands. So we just said that exact thing. Alex Dunbar is the antecedent. He is the pronoun. And there are various kinds of pronouns. You've got all of these. So let me get this a little bit closer, because you're going to have to know these guys. All right. Personal pronouns. I, me, we, us, my, mine, our, ours, anything that you're included in. So it's either you by yourself or it's you plus other people. Okay, the personal pronouns. Also, you can refer to other people individually, like he, she, it, they, him, her, them, his, hers, etc. There's multiple people that's not you. And then you, your, and yours are personal pronouns as well. Okay. Interrogative pronouns, there's a few of them, and they always introduce a sentence. So here they are. I'm sorry, they always introduce a question, not a sentence, a question. Who, whom, whose, which, and what. Okay, so, who is it? To whom are you speaking? Whose friend is that? Which one are we talking about? What kind of person are you? These are all questions, and these interrogative pronouns introduce questions. Okay, demonstrative pronouns are pronouns that you use when you're demonstrating something. So, like, if you're looking at me, this pen, I'm demonstrating the pen or pencil. I put it down and I point to it, that pen or that pencil. If I have two of them, these pencils. Okay. If they're on the table and I point to them, those pencils, right? I'm demonstrating things. So that's why they're called demonstrative pronouns. Let's see. People that are on this call are texting me. Okay. Compound pronouns are pronouns combined with self or selves. Myself, ourselves, yourself, yourselves, himself, herself, itself, oneself, themselves. Okay, those are compound. And it's just because you've got two words in each one. It, its, or it and self, her and self, him and self, one and self, and so forth. Okay, and then relative pronouns are those used to introduce dependent clauses. Who, whom, whose, which, and that. Okay, so we'll get into which type of dependent clauses these introduce later. But for now, just know that these five, they introduce dependent clauses, but that's not their only use. Consider that. I can talk about that person over there, and that's demonstrative, right? That's a demonstrative pronoun. But if I say, he is the one that always complains. Well, that always complains is a dependent clause. You know, that is the subject, complains is the verb. So it's a clause because it's got a subject and a verb. So in that case, the word that is not demonstrative. It's introducing a dependent clause. So some of these, they can be used in multiple situations, but you have to find out, you know, in the context of this particular use, what it is. Okay. So let's do the first one together. It says in this exercise, underline each pronoun, and above each pronoun, identify its kind, right? A for personal, B for interrogative, C for demonstrative, D for indefinite, E for compound, and F for relative. Okay. You know what? I skipped indefinite, didn't I? So before we go on, let's make sure we know what indefinite pronouns are. These actually, I hate that I skipped that because those are the hardest ones. If they are referring to something that not a specific person or not a specific three people, but it's sort of a group of people to be determined later, or a person to be determined later, then we call it indefinite, meaning it's not definite. There's some element of it that you're not sure of. Okay, so each of those, well, we're talking about each individual one of those. So it's not definitely that one that's second from the left. It's each of them as individuals, but not one specifically by name. So that's why it's indefinite. Either, we're not sure which one, either this one or that one, it's indefinite. We're not definitely sure which one it is. Neither, one, everyone, everybody, no one, nobody, anyone, anybody, someone, somebody, both, few, several, many, some, any, none, all, and most. These you probably had to learn in a list or a song in the past. When I was a kid, we didn't do the song thing. It was just each, either, neither, one, everyone, everybody, no one, nobody, anyone, anybody, someone, somebody, both, few, several, many, some, any, none, all, most. We just memorized it. You might have it by a song, but if you don't have it memorized, then keep that list handy because you need to know what those indefinite pronouns are. Let's look at the first one now that we've gone over indefinite. How beautiful are the feet of them that preach the gospel of peace. Okay, that's a scripture. So that means by nature of scripture, it's a little bit harder than most. So let's start by identifying the verb. We've got to underline the pronoun, and above the pronoun, identify its kind. But I want to do subject, verb, and then pronoun, okay? Because it always helps to know the subject and the verb before anything else. So let's look. Haley Hartness, tell me what the verb is of this sentence.
Are.
Yep. What kind of verb is that, Haley?
Linking.
Beautiful. So brilliant. Okay. Now this is tough because it's scripture. How about, let's see, Dawson, can you tell me what the subject is?
Feet.
Yeah. It took a little thinking, didn't it? Because this is scripture, and the old English, King James English, can be kind of backward. But yeah, feet. Good. Now, that was very good. Let's see. Landon, can you unmute and tell me one of the pronouns that are in this sentence? Them, yes. If you said them, that is correct. So it says identify. It says underline the pronoun. I guess I should have not mixed up things. Apologize for that. So you don't have to do this in your homework, but we're going to underline pronouns. So them is the first one that's underlined. Now, Landon, can you tell me what kind of pronoun it is? Your options are compound. No, it's not compound because compound requires the word self to be part of it, or selves. So themselves, their selves, that kind of thing. So it wouldn't be compound. It is listed up there though. It's actually on the screen too. The word them. Cody, can you help him out? Cody O, can you see the screen? Uh-oh. Yeah, I heard you. Hold on a second. I just want to. Hey, Jillian, tell Brianne that I'm sorry it did that, but she can just watch the recording.
Yes, sir.
I didn't kick her off. Yeah, it is personal, Landon. Them, it's in our list right here. Let's see, where is it? Right there. Took me a while to find it myself because it's so small. So there, that's it. Now, you were right that them is, if it had selves by it, it would be compound. Also note that demonstrative, some of you probably use them as a demonstrative pronoun, but it is not allowed. Hey, like, so for example, this is how you use them as demonstrative. These two pencils are laying on the table over here. Would you hand me one of them pencils? I have to say it in a country accent because it's only said by people that have a country accent. And them is not used that way. It's those, okay? So that's why if you see them, let's see. Let me hit pause for a second. Okay. So them, we put an A above it because it's personal. There's another one, and let's see. I want to ask Haley Allen, can you unmute and tell me what the other pronoun is on this sentence? I'll give you a hint. It's really close to the last one. Haley, Haley Allen, do you hear me? I see your hand there, so I know you're with me.
Can you repeat that? You glitched out.
I didn't glitch out. All right.
Well,
Yeah.
it glitched for me.
Okay. All right. So yes, if your glitch kept you from knowing what page we're on page 206. And
No, I just didn't hear like what you said.
okay. Yeah. I said, what is the other pronoun in this sentence? We already said them as a pronoun. What's the next one?
That?
That is the right one. And for the sake of time, I'll just show you. It's right here. And it's right here. Okay. So it's either a demonstrative pronoun or it's a relative pronoun. Let's see. I'm going to pick somebody else. JC, would you unmute and tell me what type of pronoun do you think that is?
Indefinite.
Is that one? Is that on there?
Demonstrative. Demonstrative.
Well, it's on the list of demonstrative, but let's look at, it's not a demonstrative in this case, but I understand why you thought that. Let's see why it's relative. If you look right here, that clause, that preach the gospel of peace, in the context of the clause, that's the subject, that's the verb. This is the direct object, and then this is, and so this would be a prepositional phrase. Okay, so this clause is in the context of the whole sentence. Feet are beautiful, and this is an adjective clause describing which feet? The feet that preach the gospel of peace, right? So this is an adjective clause. Therefore, that is a relative pronoun because it's being used to introduce a dependent clause. In this case, it's an adjective clause, okay? This is, I'm glad they put this one first because this one's pretty tough. So anyway, that's how that page goes. Let's turn to the next one. We'll go a little bit faster because I'm going to get it all done in the next 15 minutes. All right, making verbs agree with pronoun subjects. Let me get that arranged. These indefinite pronouns are singular and take singular verbs. Each, either, neither, one, everyone, everybody, no one, nobody, anyone, anybody, someone, somebody. These are singular, okay? That's the list of singular pronouns. Indefinite, these indefinite, so that's singular indefinite pronouns. So, and then indefinite pronouns that are plural and take a plural verb are both, few, several, many. Okay, so you can divide all your indefinites into the ones that are singular and the ones that are plural. Each, either, neither, one, everyone, everybody, no one, nobody, anyone, anybody, someone, somebody. Those are going to always be singular. Memorize that list or keep that list close by for this exercise. And then in the indefinite ones that are always plural are both, few, several, many. Okay. And then there are a few in this next section, they're indefinites, but they can be either singular or plural. Just depends on how they're being used. So some, any, none, all, and most can be either one. To determine whether the number or whether they're singular or plural, look at the context of the sentence. Some of the harvest was completed by November. Some of the crops were frozen. So in this case, some is referring to harvest, isn't it? The antecedent of this pronoun is harvest. It's one thing, therefore we use a singular verb. Like he was, harvest was. In this sentence, some is referring to crops, and crops are plural. They were frozen, all of the crops. Now, if you said some of the crop without a S, it would be was. Some of the crop was frozen because that would be just the corn, right? But in this case, some of the crops, it's some of the corn and some of the beans and some of the radishes and some of the carrots, okay? That's how that works. Now, number 4, doesn't, isn't, wasn't are singular and must be used with singular subjects. Don't, aren't, weren't are plural and must be used with plural subjects. And there is an exception. Use don't with pronouns I and you. Most errors occur when don't is used incorrectly with he, she, or it. It's the country form, like he don't know what he's talking about. That's not right. You say he doesn't know what he's talking about. Or she don't like me one bit. That's not right. She doesn't like me one bit. Okay. And then number 5, the verb agrees with the subject, not the predicate nominative. So don't be confused. Remember, the predicate nominative is the noun that follows the linking verb and renames it. She was president. President is a noun that follows was and renames she. Okay. So you don't, it says to be sure that you make sure that your verb agrees with the subject and not the predicate nominative. Okay, let's do the first one together. Cross out each incorrect form in parentheses. All of the spies except Joshua and Caleb either was or were afraid to enter the promised land. All of the spies except Joshua and Caleb. So the confusing thing here is what is the actual subject? So what do you think it is, Garrett? What's the subject? All of the spies except Joshua and Caleb was or were afraid to enter the promised land. What's the subject of the sentence?
Joshua and Caleb.
I love the sentence because it gives you It's like you think you know it's a trick question, but it gives you 2 tricks. It's not Joshua and Caleb, and it's not spies. What is it?
Except?
Mm-mm.
I don't know.
No, it's all.
Oh.
All were is correct because all is more than one, isn't it? If I'm talking about all of you, there's certainly not one person. So all were, so you cross out was, okay? And then you do not have to do exercise B. Please don't do exercise B. Okay? Move on to the next page, 208. A pronoun must agree with its antecedent in number, which means plural or singular. Use singular pronouns to refer to singular indefinites like each, either, neither, one, everyone, everybody, no one, nobody, anyone, anybody, someone, somebody. Plural pronouns, use plural pronouns to refer to plural indefinite pronouns. So what you're saying is what they're saying is regardless of, well, let's just say you look at the verb or you look at the antecedent of the pronoun. If it's plural, then use a plural pronoun. If it's singular, use a singular pronoun. So in these examples, each of the girls came armed with their own ideas is not right. Each of the girls came armed with her own ideas because each is a singular indefinite pronoun and her is a singular pronoun. Make sense? A few filled their nests with fish. Few is more than one, so there must be plural. Plural, plural. And then this is just the opposite. Or actually, this is the one that can be either. Some indefinite pronouns, or the indefinite pronouns some, any, none, all, and most. They can be either one, either singular or plural, depending on the use. Most of the trees have lost their leaves. Their leaves, so it's most. In this case, is plural. In this case, most of the castle remains its splendor. Most is singular because we're talking about one castle, and that is that's possessive of a singular it. Pronouns that refer to compound antecedents joined by and are usually plural. That makes sense. You got 2 of them, so it's there. Pronouns that refer to compound antecedents joined by or nor usually agree with the nearest antecedent. That is important. So neither Mark nor his brothers have received their passports. This is there because brothers is nearest to there, and brothers is plural. Neither Mark nor Tom has received his passport. Okay, Tom is singular, so his is going to be singular. Also, if you said neither the brothers nor Mark have received his passports, it's the nearest one to the antecedent that you use. And then the last thing, a relative pronoun, who, which, or that, agrees with this antecedent in number and determines number in its own clause. So you figure out whether it's singular or plural, not by looking at the whole sentence, but go to the context of the clause. The context of the clause by itself and determine it. Angela is the girl who's willing to lend her own books. The relative pronoun who is singular because it refers to girl in the clause. Angela is the girl. Who is, that's the clause. Since who is referring to a single girl, who is singular. Make sense, everybody? And then same thing with plural singular we do with gender. So if the antecedent is masculine, then use he, him, or his. If the antecedent is feminine, use she, her, or hers. If the antecedent is neuter, refer to it by it or its. Okay? Trees don't, actually trees do have sex, but you can't tell by looking at them. So since there's no sex there, you do its. And then antecedents of common gender, both men and women, you refer to them with he, him, or his. Okay? In regular speech, it is now okay to use they or them, even though that's plural. But in all of these assignments, you have to, that's an exception to the rule. It's actually a cheat of the rule. It's just become okay. To get it right on the quizzes and tests and homework, you have to use he, him, or his, okay? Because that's the actual written traditional rule. Antecedents that are names of animals are referred to by neuter pronouns, but there is an exception here as well. The tiger paced back and forth in its cage. That would be its because we don't know the sex. If they wish to add personality, they use masculine if the gender is not known. Tiger performed really well during his time, just because we don't know if it's male or female. But if it's known to be female, use her. The tigress feeds her cubs. Or if you just heard the tiger feeds her cubs, you know that, or let's say that I guess a male tiger could feed his cubs. It would be if you just said tiger, but you're referring to birth. The tiger birthed her cubs. A male tiger can't give birth, so you know it's going to be her. Okay. Turn to page. We have 4 minutes. Let's do this. Exercises A, B, and C. We'll do the first of each one so you know what to do. Underline the antecedents in each blank and write a pronoun that agrees with it. An antecedent. This time we're talking about number, so singular, plural. So nobody is what's underlined because that's the antecedent. And so we need to pick a word that is the right number or either singular or plural based on nobody. So nobody, if you look back here at our list, nobody right here is singular. So we know that this is singular. So we have to pick a singular pronoun. We don't know sex. In this case, it's referring to both men and women, so we'll say his. Nobody turned in his registration card, okay? Exercise B. In each blank, write a pronoun that agrees with his antecedent in gender. Mr. Roberts gave, well, we know that's a Mr., so we know it's a him. You'd have to say his support to art efforts to raise money for the orphanage, okay? So it just says write the pronoun that agrees with this antecedent or gender. And then exercise C. Cross out each pronoun that does not agree with this antecedent and write the correct pronoun above it, okay? Anyone that cannot control their tongue will have few friends. Well, that's the antecedent, but it's supposed to be singular because, again, if you look at our list, anyone is singular. So there is not singular, is it? So I got to cross that out and put his. So the answer to all three of those was his. Interesting. All right. Do not do exercise D, please. Okay, don't do that. So you have, let's start from the first page. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 exercises to do. I'm going to stop sharing right now. And I want to show you guys, let me make sure that I'm the one on the recording. I'm going to show you guys what you're supposed to do as far as your quiz is concerned or your homework grade. I'm going to share my, I'm going to share my screen and show you real quick, and then I'll cut this thing off because it's about to go over. Let's see here. I'm going to share my desktop. Okay, hopefully you can see the LMS screen here. I've got this demo quiz that I set up. I'm actually going to log out and log back in as Johnny Test. I made a Johnny Test profile so I can show you demonstrations here. Okay, so I'm going into your English, and I made this demo quiz just for this little presentation. So you're going to go into here. This is actually how you do your homework tonight. You're not going to go into demo quiz. You're actually going to go into the one that says, let's see. Go back to it. GHDP 206 to 209. That's the one you're going to do. I'm going to do this demo quiz one here to show you an example of what it's going to look like. Let's everybody look at page 206, the very first question that we did. It says, how beautiful are the feet of them that preach the gospel of peace. And we underlined them, and that them was a personal pronoun. That was a relative pronoun. It says, identify the bracketed pronoun. How beautiful are the feet of them that preach the gospel of peace. Well, we know by looking at the homework we did that it's relative pronoun, so we'll click relative and go to the next one. I'm just getting my answer straight off my homework, okay? There's going to be 20 of these questions, but for this demo, I'm just going to do the one. Or these, it's actually 4 or 5 questions here on the demo. Please turn to page 207. It says, all of the spies except Joshua and Caleb was or were afraid to enter the promised land. Choose the correct word. All of the spies except Joshua and Caleb, blank, afraid to enter the promised land. It was, we said in our homework that it was were, so I'm going to click were because that's correct. Not the one that we crossed out, but the one that was correct. And move on to the next one. Page 209, exercise A. It says, identify the antecedent and the appropriate pronoun in the following sentence. Nobody turned in blank registration card in time to go on the trip. Well, the antecedent, according to our homework, was nobody, and we put his in the blank. And so that's the answer. We move on to the next one. Exercise B. In each blank, write the pronoun that agrees with this antecedent in gender. It says, in the following sentence, which pronoun agrees with this antecedent in gender? Mr. Roberts gave, in our homework, we said his. So I'm going to mark his and go to the next one. And then the last one, exercise C. Anyone, it says cross out each pronoun that does not agree with its antecedent and write the correct one above it. Okay. This, I had to reword it a little bit. Identify the pronoun in the following sentence that needs to be changed. So which one needs to be changed? We crossed out in our homework their tongue because anyone's supposed to be singular. So I'm going to click there because that one's the one that needs to be changed. And then I'm going to turn it in. And I'm done with my homework. And we got an A+ because we did our homework right. Everybody follow? And we're not going to, don't send me pictures this time. We're going to try it this way. That way it's already graded. You've got it in the system and we're moving on. Okay. I went 3 minutes over. I'm sorry for all of that. Love you guys so much. If you have questions, I'm not going to take them now. Just send me a text. Okay. If you have homework that needs to be graded that you've made up, you're going to have to send me a list, but do that in an email, please, so that I don't lose track of it. Texts, I'm getting so many texts these days. I'm losing those texts. So send me an email listing the things you want me to check, and I'll get them graded tomorrow. Okay. Love you guys. Have a great day. Bye.